Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44. So I've lightened up a little bit, shaved my head, took a couple pictures, feel a little better about myself. 'Cause I was getting a little worked up, to say the least, about the last couple things we've been talking about on this channel. But we can get back to basketball now. All right. So naturally, Kyrie Irving is one of the bigger topics out there just because of the situation, with him not necessarily being willing to take the vaccine. I have more clarity as to what his stance is, so I can kind of talk to you guys about how I perceive that. And also, it's now being reported that he is not going to be offered an extension by the Brooklyn Nets. That's a pretty big deal to say the least. So we can talk a little bit about that. Kyrie is essentially saying that he wants to be a voice for the voiceless. He understands that a lot of people are losing their jobs because of these vaccine mandates, and essentially he's saying, my job is forcing me to take the vax too. You guys who are saying that you don't want to take the vax, I stand with you. You know what I mean? Some of you guys are in situations where you need your jobs, but you're standing on your beliefs because you have whatever they are. And maybe no one's speaking up for you. Maybe nobody's talking about how you're going through the poverty you're going through because of the stance you're willing to take. I got your back. Kyrie is also going through this because my state doesn't allow me to do my profession in this situation. And while Kyrie said he is not against the vaccine itself, which is very important information for this channel because I've been talking about that particular aspect of it, now I know where he's coming from. I have a better understanding of how to approach it. So that was helpful for me personally. Now here's the thing. I don't think my opinion has changed at all. As far as this is concerned, it pertains to Kyrie Irving standing on what he believes in if he wants to, but also not dragging his brothers down with him. This is not a cause that I'm passionate about. I don't think that this is something that I would want to risk my career on, but I see the parallel between him being forced to take the vax to work and what he's saying others are going through and how he's trying to bring a voice to them. So it's like, yeah, I see the parallel. You're going through it too. You're standing on it too. Some of these people are in poverty. Like, I get that. That's okay if that's what you want to do. My thing is, don't let KD and his goals professionally, James Harden and his goals professionally, the rest of the team and their goals professionally, be locked in with this decision. My thing is release them of that stress, of that burden. Don't have their livelihood wrapped up in this decision. Now, if they want to stand with you on this decision and they lock arms with you, it can make for a heck of a statement. But I don't know that they're willing to do that, and it's pretty obvious that that's not where their heads are. So you're kind of roping them in. Their brands, in a way, are now going to be affected by this if they go against you in any ways. The Nets are in a weird spot if they go against you in any way, because no one wants to be, as professionally, mind you, corporate minds don't want to be offensive to anyone if they can help it. And we understand that there's a big group of people who are anti-vaxxers who may be falling in the category of what Kyrie's talking about. Now, there's a great argument, amazing argument, for why those people are just flat out wrong and should probably take the vaccine. But that argument is not for me to make. That argument is for someone who has a lot more to say about that to make. My argument is more so along the lines today that the person who's trying to stand for them is going about it in a very wrong way. Very wrong way. And that's how I'm approaching this conversation. The Brooklyn Nets are not going to be offering him an extension. That is devastating for him, in my mind, because he wants to be in Brooklyn. He wants to play with Kyrie. He wants to play with James Harden and KD, and he wants to win a championship there. The only reason why KD's there, from what I understand, I don't remember this being the case, but it's being reported that Kyrie was the one who ultimately got KD to come to New York and ultimately to Brooklyn. So, like, KD wouldn't even be there if it wasn't for Kyrie. So what does he look like turned against Kyrie because Kyrie stand on something he truly believe in? It's like you put your brother in a tough spot. I don't know, James Harden's point of view. I'm not certain, but my hope is that Kyrie now doesn't hold this against KD going forward. Not personally, bro. I would hope that they have an understanding now about what Kyrie's going to have to do and the consequences he's going to have to take on, and KD's consequences as well as what he's going to have to take on. Because at the end of the day, you just don't want to see that. You know what I mean? Whatever happens professionally is one thing, but when people come together and professionally and want to do something because they have a friendship and a desire to get it done, something like this gets in the way. It's kind of hard to talk somebody back into the swing of things. If you're KD, it's kind of hard to get him to say, okay, well, that's a great cause, but we're trying to go for this championship. That championship doesn't mean as much to KD as this. I mean, it's to Kyrie as this. So it's like, all you can really ask Kyrie to do is be considerate to you and get out the way. Release the Brooklyn Nets from this stranglehold that you have on their organization, telling them that you will not allow yourself to be traded so that they can't get the adequate amount of talent on the floor for those home games that you're going to be missing. That's wrong. That's a wrong. They shouldn't have to be dragged into that for you to make your stance. They don't have to. You would just have to make a decision to walk away from the game. And that's a decision I think is honorable for Kyrie Irving. I think that it will make his message even more strong. If he would have really put his money where his mouth is and just bow out away from the game. Because the team's already not letting you play. They're already telling you they don't even want you a part of this organization at this point by not offering you the extension. So clearly your future is playing basketballs elsewhere. At this point, that's the reality. The Philadelphia 76ers it's been reported that they have no interest in Kyrie Irving for Ben Simmons. You've never heard me say that the Philadelphia 76ers should want Kyrie Irving under these circumstances. Now, granted, for the Philadelphia 76ers, however, Kyrie Irving would be able to play in his home games with Philly because Philly don't have the same mandate as the Brooklyn Barclays Center. But they would still have to deal with the enigmatic person that is Kyrie and whatever choices he may decide. He lives in a world where the choices that he makes are right for him and the people that he is trying to affect with those choices, and whoever else gets hit by that, it appears as if he's not interested. That doesn't make for a whole lot of wiggle room to work with or even around this person when they make certain demands such as, I'm going to retire if you trade me. That means that their value is essentially nothing unless you allow them to play under their terms. Now, a lot of people are getting on Ben Simmons for doing this something similar in regards to his situation. And although he's been reported to have gone back to Philadelphia, and that situation right now is with them conversing about whatever they want to converse about, that's where we're at there. They're talking. Kyrie's situation is different because Nets are saying all the right things as an organization. Sean Marks seems like he's taking a good stance that I can respect, and a balanced stance that seems like he's respecting all corners necessary. But at the end of the day, it's up to Kyrie to make his voice be heard at this point. I think I believe that it would be best for him to make some type of statement in support of his mission, so that he can tie it all in. I think at the end of the day, being silent right now is just like, there's a lot of speculation that can be said about your motivation. You know, a lot of people are talking about, you're doing this just because you're the old Kyrie. I heard Stephen A say that, he's just trying to make another excuse to stay away from work. I don't know, maybe you have good things to do away from work. I'm not that person as it pertains to you need to do what I want you to do. No, you just need to be able to live with the consequences of what it is you choose to do. But I will tell you, roping other people in is something I don't like. Roping people in is just not the way to go if you want them to love you and respect you, appreciate you, or what have you. Love, I don't think, should be conditional in that way, but sometimes it just simply is. And you don't want to put yourself in a position to have your loved ones turn on you or your friends turn on you because of something that you chose to do that you did in the spirit of love, in the spirit of understanding for others. The voice of the voices, as you say. And then, of course, there's a great point that, like Molly Karen brought up and someone else as well, others have brought up. What about those who don't have a voice because they died of COVID? What about those who've chosen to take the vaccine because they need it to work and didn't necessarily want to take it themselves, but just could not simply afford to make this decision? Do you speak for them as well? And if so, what are you saying to them? Because they took the vax. Are you essentially saying that they are not, you know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it can be interpreted that you don't accept what they're choosing by also not taking the vaccine so that you can work. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different ways a lot of people can look at it. If you want to say you're the voice of the voiceless, there's a lot of voiceless people in this conversation. So I think that's why his statement is going to be so helpful. Because I've been sitting up here speculating about why he this or that, and then I've been attacking it from the point of view of why don't you want the vaccine? It's been reported that the vaccine itself is safe, blah, 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 blah. And my thing was, well, we take risk every day, and if I had such and such millions on the line, I probably would, and friends, etc., playing with to win the championship, I probably would just take it even with the risk involved. So my thing was, what are you concerned about? Are you not reading the information given to you by the professionals that you paid to give you this information? And if so, you don't trust it, why do you pay these professionals? These are the questions I have. Because I know people who are athletes are going to make sure that anything they take in their body is going to be healthy. So he's going to have a team of people to take care of that. He's a professional. His body is his livelihood. So stuff ain't going in Kyrie Irving and these type of athletes unless they know what it is, if they on top of their stuff. So I would assume he would have everything vetted, every shot that he takes, every vaccine he takes, every time someone puts something in him as he goes under the knife. Anything he goes through, he's going to have vetted through that team, I would imagine. So, are you not trusting the information as regards to that vaccine? That's not logical to me. That his world and the stance that they're saying that he's taking was illogical. It didn't even make sense. Those two spaces don't even match. That, in my opinion. But this particular point of view now that it's been reported as this, it adds up a little more. Because now you understand it's not just about him saying that he doesn't believe the vaccine should be taken because they're trying to annihilate us or something like that, or he doesn't believe the vaccine should be taken because, as once reported, there are all the things on the earth that we need to cure us. Why would we need the vaccine? That's such a silly argument, because of course everything that was taken from the earth was put into the vaccine so that the vaccine could exist. That's what science does. They derive from everything around us, to so on and so forth. So I didn't think that was logical either. And so, although Kyrie has done some things that seem illogical, not to this degree, not to me. You may believe the earth is flat or something like that, although he said he was kidding about that. People seem to forget he said he was kidding. But nevertheless, I just didn't think that coincided with. And see, that's another thing. I will say this about Kyrie Irving. The way that he tends to operate and the way that they promote what he's doing tends to be a little different than how it makes sense to me when I watch it. In other words, his talking about narratives and how they control the narrative about him and how they put words in his mouth and how they tell us about him in ways that doesn't actually reflect who he is. I see evidence of it. I actually see evidence of it in his case. And I've talked about that in the past as it pertains to when he left Cleveland and what they were telling us about that versus what made sense to me. It didn't know. And in certain situations as well, that just about Kyrie Irving particularly, it just seemed like I had to run that by my own brain. Man, I can't necessarily just take that information in without, doing a little something with it, see if it makes sense. And sometimes it didn't. In this particular case, it didn't. Him not trusting the vaccine itself, him standing against the vaccine itself, especially being the fact that he's in Brooklyn. Not only is he in Brooklyn playing for the Brooklyn Nets, but he's a Brooklyn Knight. He's from New York. So New York is one of the hardest hit places by COVID. How did he even walk around there with some of the people that he knows close without having to have some very difficult conversations about why he would be against taking the vaccine? That would make life in my mind, that would make life very uncomfortable for him in the place that he plays, in his home. So that didn't make no sense to me. And I think he will have to answer some very tough questions in those same circles, but they won't be as baseless as we got everything around us. We don't need a vax. That's not a conversation you want to have to some of them people. They can get mad at you quick. But if you say, this is something I'm going through with my employment, they're not letting me work because of these mandates by the state, and so are some other people, and they don't have a voice, and they're out there getting messed up. They're out there having their lives stretched for them because they can't seem to work without being forced to do something they refuse to do. So I get it. I don't like it. I don't like it because I think the vaccine ultimately in its most purest form is supposed to save us from one another. And so we should be encouraging people to ultimately get educated and then make a decision from there. But that's my point of view. That's not Kyrie's. And somebody needs to speak for the people on the other side who really are suffering with their choices. So, you know, as somebody who's suffering from choices that I've made as well, I can totally dig someone speaking up for something like that, even if you're wrong. You know, sometimes when you're wrong, you still need somebody to stand with you. I'm just gonna be real. It's true. So if Kyrie wants to be that in this case, if that's what it is, that's what it is. I will say this though. If I were in Kyrie's position and I had the point of view that he has, I would take the shot. I would take a shot. I would. Because at the end of the day, those individuals are not working because they did not take the shot. By your example of taking the shot that you don't want to take, you can effectively help some of those people make the same decision and get back to work. I think that's helping some of them. I know you would be called a hypocrite by the rest, but there's some people out there who are really suffering for the wrong reasons. There are people out there who believe things about this thing that aren't true, and they aren't taking this vaccine because of that. Phobias and things of that nature that are not rational. But they stand strong against taking it because of it. And they're not working. They need help, Kyrie. Those people need help. They're not in a space where they can see the forest for the trees, and you're leading them in a direction that's not best for them if they were to follow you. That's not everybody on that side, but that's that particular group. Voices that are not being spoken for as well. So it's so many, man. It's so many. You gotta understand that when you're pushing some away, you're bringing some towards you. When you're bringing some towards you, you're pushing some away. There's no winner in this situation but those who survive COVID. Those are the true winners, whether they took the vax or not. If you survived COVID, you won. And that's the deeper story here. Still got to be right about this thing. One way or another, we have to be right. Because if it's what they say it is and it can do what it does, it's going to wipe out humanity entirely. Like, this ain't nothing to play with. So, I can see many angles. And I want Kyrie to see many angles. My name is BDL44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.